Look at this idiot, blowing air into his sleeping pad. All that moisture, getting lightheaded. So stupid. That idiot is me. All right, looks like a pretty good spot. Can blowing air into your sleeping pad cause mold, costing you more money in the long run? Pump sacks like this weigh very little, but what if an electric pump weighed just as much? Small electric air pumps have been on the market for years now, and I've never been able to justify taking one backpacking. I'm a die-hard windblower, and I had no intentions of ever changing that. How the FlexTail Gear Zero pump completely changed my mind and made carrying a pump sack completely pointless. Let me tell you why you should use an air pump and what makes this pump better than all the rest. Over the years, I've watched several videos of people that actually cut open their sleeping pads to see if there's mold inside. These are pads that have been used for years.
You can see there, that's like really clean. Looking at the valve itself, there's no kind of discoloration or really anything. In a lot of ways, I just wasted a really good pad.
One was even an Appalachian Trail thru hiker that blew it up my mouth daily. I mean, everyone's mouth is dirty, but thru hiker mouth? I bet the inside of that thing smelled like ramen noodles and elitism. And yes, it's Appalachian. I know I say it wrong. Little fun fact, Appalachian is actually the correct way to say it when you live in Ohio and don't give a shit. I'd hate to see what my pad smells like on the inside. It's beer. The results of the pad mutilation implied that mold is really less of an issue than we may think. With the pad killers not really finding anything other than some of the insulation a little bit damaged, some of the foil was kind of losing its reflectivity, worn out, less efficient, moisture related? Possibly. Even if my sources didn't find mold, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. If you're investing a lot of money into a pad that you really want to keep forever, keeping moisture out of it is probably a smart idea. Mini air pumps are cool little gadgets that ensure dry air is going into your pad. You have never seen the tiny pump in any one of my backpacking videos. I bought this years ago and it has never made the cut. Then why the hell did you buy it? Oh, 3 very amusing reasons, but first you need to know my history with the tiny pump. People all over the internet were going crazy over this thing. Even my buddies over at Show Brothers Outdoors had it on a couple trips that I was on.
This was definitely harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I hated it. Yeah. Yeah. Air pump? Dude, you're camping. Don't be a Kill me now. I used to use alcohol stoves on the trail, really quiet, so the first time I encountered canister stoves, those actually really bothered me. Woo! Those are like a kitten's purr compared to this thing. So why did I buy it then? When I make backpacking videos on sleeping pads, I get tired of blowing them all up. And I figure if I buy it, then maybe I'll take it on like fun little overnighters or glamping trips. I never desire its company. But the main reason that I bought it, everybody loves this thing, and you guys know me. I wanted to make a video specifically hating on it, because that's what I do. Everyone loves this thing, and I think it sucks. Why? It's freaking yellow! For comedic value, but also to shed some light on things that maybe you haven't thought about. I mean, there are points that could be brought up of why not to bring an air pump. Could be an informative video. You'd learn nothing. So imagine what I thought when FlexTail Gear reached out to me via email and asked me if I wanted to try out their new Zero pump.
You've got mail.
But when I started to read about it and started to understand, like the Grinch, my heart grew 3 sizes that day. Is that right? Or was it 10 sizes? 3 sizes too small? I don't know, it rhymed. Did they fix everything I hated about the tiny pump? And is this something that I would actually take on a backpacking trip? Needless to say, I took them up on their offer. So yeah, this video is sponsored by FlexTail Gear. Oh, we can't take him seriously. He got it for free. It's biased. You wanna know what's more biased? Is my opinion on things that I've spent my own money on. No one wants to admit that they made a dumb mistake. I mean, if this thing sucks, at least I didn't pick it out. I mean, it does suck. And blow. Those are its jobs, you know? Suck jobs and inflation. This thing is cool. I mean, you guys think I'm actually making this video just because I got this for free? Come on. I'm getting paid. Calm down, it's not entirely true. I actually wanted to make this video. And listen, I told them I was gonna trash talk in this video. I literally emailed them back, told them that I hated the tiny pump and that this was gonna be an honest review. And they were confident that I was gonna like this. Big mistake. And I do, but no holding back. I might not get paid. I got paid. It's not often that I firmly dislike a piece of gear. A new version comes out and then it totally redeems itself. I've tested this thing a ton and these are my 7 reasons why I think this is the best air pump on the market. Everything keeps getting smaller these days. This is smaller than the small pump or the tiny pump, whatever it's called. Hey, it's not small, it's average. Well, the new design is actually smaller and more packable than the average size pump. I will literally use this for under 2 minutes a day, so it has to be light to justify carrying it, at least for me. Tiny pump comes in at 3.15 ounces, 89 grams. Other versions of this weigh closer to 4 ounces because they have an integrated light. I didn't get the memo that that existed when I bought mine. Zero pump, claimed weight of 1.2 ounces. See, right there on the side. But that's actually the weight without any nozzles and without the battery. So, I mean, if you want to carry this without the intention of using it, 1.2, pretty light. With the battery and 1 nozzle, since that's all I'll need to carry, weighs 2.15 ounces. That's freaking light. Barely heavier than my pump sack. The pump sack came in at 1.85 ounces, barely half an ounce lighter than the Zero. Now, pump sacks can be quite large. I mean, other than having great battery life, I don't really see any advantage to carrying this. Now, if you use pump sacks for as a multi-use item, I'm genuinely curious what you use these for. Throw that in the comments. I would love to read your opinions on it. If you give your Zero pump to a pump sack fanboy on a backpacking trip, you can't tell me he's not going to use it. It's just like those anti-chair guys that you find sitting in your chair every time you leave it unattended. I thought this feature was pretty cool. It not only blows, it also sucks. Some pads actually require a good bit of work to get all the air out of them. I was really impressed by how good this thing sucks. I'm holding it in. This might seem like an unnecessary feature for some, but honestly, multiple uses for everything that you're carrying on the trail it's always a pleasure. Like your mom. Ugh. I wasn't impressed by the build quality of the tiny pump. It just felt kind of cheap, like if you dropped it, it would break. The new nozzles are way better than the ones that used to come with the tiny average size pump. I'll get into why and all the upgrades, but this just has better build quality. Everything about it is better, right down to the packaging. It just feels like a real piece of gear and not something like cheap and chintzy. Here's something that people thought was a flaw, but I actually think it's a better design. People say that having to remove the battery and charge is a bit annoying. Obviously, the tiny pump's ability to just plug in really quick and charge sounds like a good idea. With the Zero pump, you gotta unscrew it, take it apart. You got pieces laying around everywhere, which poses problems. You might lose something, or old Winston might want to steal the cap. But it is better this way. When the tiny pump's battery finally poops out on you and doesn't hold a charge, the pump is done. It's junk. The Zero pump uses a removable battery, so when that dies, you can just buy a new battery, and then the pump will essentially last forever. Maybe. I haven't done the lifelong test on it, but when I'm like 90, that's gonna be a banger video. You might want to subscribe now so you don't miss that one. This is the best improvement in my opinion. Holding the tiny pump firmly onto the pad, whether you're kneeling or standing, is surprisingly annoying. I constantly was just like throwing the pump aside and just blowing it up with my air just to avoid this. The Zero pump attaches right to the pad for hands-free usage, which actually makes it more convenient to use than any other means of inflation, including pump sacks. So the older model nozzles weren't labeled at all. It was like a puzzle trying to figure out what nozzle went to what pad and in which way it was supposed to be installed. This is embarrassing, but it's true. The first time I used this, I couldn't get it to work right away because I was using the wrong end of the pump. I mean, nothing's labeled, and the way that the nozzles are, it looks like they all go in that end, and that's where the pad would go, but it actually blows out of this little thing here. I know, it's like, oh, what end's blowing the air? That's where your pad goes. But my mom says I'm special. The thing didn't come with any directions, and I think maybe the newer versions of this did have directions. I know the packaging looks like it changed, and there's a couple different versions of these. I probably wouldn't have read them anyway. Just struggle like a man. The new nozzles are labeled, so no guesswork to figure out what pad they go to. And not only do they have clearly labeled the direction of install, but the pump itself actually has inflate and deflate labeled on it as well, for people like me. Fully ADD proof. The tiny pump literally screams. Every time I've used it, I feel like I'm inconveniencing everybody. I was at a group campsite. It was like car camping. The conversations around me stopped, and I could feel them glaring at me. And these are car campers. That's one step beyond day hiker. Getting up there with those guys that sleep in hammocks. The Zero Pump is not only quieter, but it emits a completely different frequency. It's slightly lower. It's not quite as ear-piercing. Your dogs will probably appreciate this, and I've found from using it that it makes me want to kill myself slightly less. Now in the future, am I going to use this in place of blowing air into my pad or using a pump sack? Let's get into that. I will never stop blowing air into my sleeping pads. In 15 years, if it's moldy, I'll just get another one. Or I'll email Thermarest and tell them I need another one to test. I'm kidding. They don't respond to my emails. I know it's not a very environmentally friendly way of thinking as you sit there sipping on your bottled water. Have you ever considered what the sea turtles think about that? Truthfully, I buy gear to use, like for efficiency, like this camera, very expensive. I should not be allowed to take this outside. Other people probably can, but I am not nearly responsible enough. I dropped it on a granite rock on a mountaintop the first time out. True story. My gear is to be used for efficiency, not longevity. That doesn't mean I trash things intentionally, but on high mileage backpacking trips, where every ounce in my pack is carefully planned out, I'm going to use the thing that I don't have to carry around to blow up my pad. Your mom. My breath. On shorter trips, which are literally like 90% of the backpacking trips I do, 1 to 2 nighters, the Zero Pump is great because I don't have to be too weight conscious of what's in my pack. Remember, bring whatever gear that just helps enhance your experience. I mean, these have multiple uses too. You can blow dust off your gear, I guess. Use it as a fire starter, fire enhancer, so you don't have to use your own oxygen, and cool you off on a hot summer day. Oh yeah. Despite it being 40 degrees outside.
Round 1, fight.
Holy shit, they don't want you getting in it. Oh my god. I already hate it. Pump sacks weigh next to nothing. But you know what also weighs next to nothing? The air in my lungs. You thought I was going to say the Zero Pump. But the total weight of the Zero Pump is so minimal that it makes carrying a pump sack almost absurd. This is stupid. Okay, the cons. So I've already covered that taking the battery out, some people think that's a con. There's one more thing that could be considered a con when upgrading from the tiny pump, and that is that it doesn't have a light. I mean, who would want that though? Who wants a light on their air pump? Am I biased because I bought the wrong one? Absolutely. This is a solid little backpacking gadget. I'm going to put the link down below in the video description. Go check it out. Even though these are very similar, smaller, lighter, better in every way, and that's what it took to sell me on it. Use code BRYCE15 to get 15% off of this through my affiliate link down below. You got to click the link. For more tips that you cannot live without, you'll die. Click on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.